Thank you for joining us for episode 1 of the Staple Landscapes Podcast. I'm lucky to be joined today by Mike Michel, co-owner of R.S Gilmore, owner of Tasty's Bagels. Thanks for joining me, man. It's great to have you on.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Little insurance info in the house.
Yeah.
We'll try to make it fun as much as it can be.
Awesome. So, I mentioned a couple of the things that you do. I was wondering if you could tell everyone about kind of how you've gotten here, because you wear a lot of different hats business-wise. You
Yes.
do a lot. It's impressive.
Yes.
So how'd you get into business? How'd you get to where you're at right now?
So when I first started out, when I was a kid, I went and my sport was golf. Played competitive golf, really enjoyed the game. Still a special game to me. But what I liked about it was on you. You know, it was something that, the harder you worked at golf, the better your scores were, and the more success you'd have in a tournament. So, I was fortunate enough to go to Rutgers University. A lot of people know my story. I was able to get a scholarship there and afford myself a great education. And, I had a business degree and, found out that, I had a lot of success in this area, but when you go and you start playing Division I golf, there's obviously a lot of competition and the road kind of ended for me. I knew that, if I were to turn pro, it was going to be a long road to eventually make it to the PGA Tour. So at that point, I felt like it was, I should be looking into business. So when I graduated, I had a degree in finance, and, a lot of my friends were going to work on Wall Street. And I graduated in 2003, and obviously, after 9/11 in 2001, those next couple of years, there wasn't a ton of jobs on Wall Street. So that being said, I came home and started looking for jobs and had an opportunity to get in the insurance business, and started off with a large firm out of Boston, worked a few years there, and I think had a lot of success. Really appreciated working for the people I did. Learned a lot, but I think from being a golfer and kind of having it all on you on the golf course, you really can't blame the left fielder. If you hit a bad shot, it's your fault. If you hit a good shot, then you can pat yourself on the back. I think the autonomy of business ownership, and then my background with golf and the competitiveness of golf and business, it just kind of was a natural path. So after a few years of working for, at the time it was EBS Capstone Insurance, I decided to go out on my own. I wanted to do something more local. My previous firm was in Boston, and came home, and I was good golfing buddies with Tim Gilmore, who at the time owned R.S Gilmore Insurance, and we partnered up. And then, it's been a lot of fun. Me and Tim, got a great relationship. He's like a brother to me. He's the godfather of my son, and it's been good. I think it was. It's 2019, so we got together in 2007, and the agency's grown a significant amount from that point. He runs all the personal lines, and I run all the commercial lines, and that's kind of where I came from and how I got here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to focus in on what you do with insurance. I think a good place to start the conversation would be, a lot of people get inundated, right?
Yeah.
You turn on the TV, it's commercials about Geico, State Farm, Progressive, you name it.
Yep.
They have a massive market share on the, you turn on the football game, you see one every commercial timeout, right?
You see it everywhere, yep.
Now you see it on Facebook ads, you see it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of the difference between going through a company like that and taking care of it yourself and working with an agency like yours? What's the value add there?
So I think the value prop with us is this. When you go to, the other, we call them direct writers, if everything goes right and you don't have claims, then it might be the right situation for you. That being said, you're buying insurance for a reason, and you're buying insurance to protect yourself when things go wrong. And I think the unique difference with an agency is in the value proposition using, my agency or any other independent agency at that point, is you have a claim and you're fighting for more money and you feel like you didn't get what you deserved. Well, with the direct writers, you're going to be negotiating directly with your agent, who's them, and the insurance company, who's that company as well. So it's not really always in their best interest to, cave and pay you what you want. Whereas a broker, I think one thing that we've done a really good job of is if people do have issues, and then, look, insurance is a big companies. It's like any other industry. Not everybody's always going to be happy, even though we try 100% every day to do that. So when something goes wrong and there is a claim and it might not be covered, or it's a situation where, the client feels like they should be getting more than they got for a claim check, we're the in-between, right? So I'm somebody that I represent you, the insured, to help you out. So, and I know a lot of the contacts at the insurance companies. So I think one of the biggest things is, if I'm doing somebody's insurance, whether it's a business or personal, they have the opportunity and the availability to call me, and therefore I can go back to the insurance carrier and push back and see what I can do. Now, sometimes I can help people, sometimes I can't, but I think that's a unique perspective in the fact that you have, when you go through an agency, you have the carrier and then you have the agent, and the agent really is there to look out for your best interest, much like a sports agent would be. So, for example, if you have these professional athletes, I tell people all the time, you got a professional athlete and he's going directly to Mr. Kraft trying to negotiate, what he's going to get paid. That can be contentious, because the player is probably saying he's worth X and Mr. Kraft is saying he's worth, Y. So you have the sports agent that kind of takes the emotions out of it, is clear thinking, and can negotiate that contract. It's a lot like what we do. When you have a claim and you get in an auto accident, emotions run high, you're going to be calling the insurance carrier, which, in the sports vertical would be a Mr. Kraft or the owner who's cutting the checks. And it could go that same direction. So what we try to do is, take a lot of the emotion out of it, look at it, see what we believe is fair, see what we can do for our client, and then go for there. And I think that adds, I think a lot of people prefer that.
Yeah, absolutely. And another kind of pitfall that I see with going through these bigger name insurance companies directly is that it's pretty difficult as an average consumer to understand what you're getting.
Well, that's probably another thing. When you go online, I see people all the time. I've seen people come in, and it's a gentleman that's got a large business, and they got 40 or 50 employees working for him. They've had a lot of success financially, and we'll write their commercial policies, and then they come in with their auto policy, and they have the 20,000, 40,000 state minimum limits. And here's this gentleman that he's got a lot to protect, but he just his insurance is for the business was set up correctly because he had an agent set him up. But Geico, he just went on and wanted the cheapest quote, and he plugs it in, and it's it's certainly not the direct writer's fault, but they're just giving him what he asked for. Whereas for me, if you come in and that business owner sits down, I can talk to him and say, look, this is what you have. Does that make sense? And they obviously, once you communicate that to them, a lot of times they're like, whoa, yeah, I don't want that at all. I need much more coverage, or I want higher deductibles or lower deductibles. I want transportation. And those are things that we can walk you through the buying process. So I think, as an agent, I tell our people all the time, it's really helping our clients through the buying process, but once they're a client, when something goes wrong, stepping up and being there for them, because that's when we really, prove our worth. Because, if we're not going to be there, if we don't help in the buying process and we don't prove our worth in the claims process, we don't have a ton of value. But if we help in the buying process, make people feel comfortable, make them feel like they can sleep at night because they're protected properly, and then also help them on the back end, I think at that point, it's really hard to lose a client if we do our job.
Yeah. So what's kind of the best advice that you can give for someone that's shopping really for any kind of insurance policy, but maybe focusing on property and home insurance?
Yeah, so property and home insurance, I think the biggest thing I would do is when you're going to buy insurance, get a couple options, talk to a couple different people.
Right.
I think there's a lot of insurance companies out there. I think it makes sense to, if you want, get a quote from a direct writer, get a quote from an agent, discuss what you're trying to insure. Because a lot of times when people look at the house, they're just saying, okay, I got to insure the house. Well, at the same token, it probably makes sense to bundle your autos with that same carrier. Is there jewelry in place? Does the jewelry have to be insured? Is there arts, fine arts?
Right.
Is there a pool? Is there other structures on the property with a shed? Is there a dog? Should you have a personal umbrella? There's several different things, and I think the way to get the best quote for you, it's not always the cheapest. It's talking to a few different brokers or a direct writer and feel like, okay, who do I feel most comfortable with that I can get the best value from a premium standpoint, but also if something goes wrong, I feel confident that the person's going to answer the phone and take care of it for me.
Right. That's interesting that you mentioned all of those they're almost things that you wouldn't think about, like
Exactly.
the shed, the pool.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the most common pitfalls that people run into, or some of the common gaps that people tend to have in their policies?
Well, one I see all the time, and it's upsetting when these claims come in and people don't have it scheduled, because I tell every single person, jewelry.
Right.
For example, I've been married for 12 years now. This past Saturday, and at the time, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
thank you. She's a great woman, and one of the best decisions of my life. But when you go through that, you typically, I was a young man at the time, and you don't have much, and you buy this ring for your wife, and it's a lot of times your life savings, and it's a significant purchase.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that with jewelry, if you don't schedule it on the homeowner's policy, the peril, the cause of loss of it being lost, so meaning if that ring was lost, or if the diamond fell out of the setting, that's something that's not covered unless it's scheduled. And my mother-in-law, for example, she works at a post office, and several years ago she sorts the mail. Several years ago, the diamond fell out of her setting.
Wow.
And when you're sorting hundreds of thousands of mail pieces, really to find that diamond is almost impossible. If you're on vacation and you go out swimming with your wife and the diamond falls out in the ocean, you're never going to find that.
Right.
So that's something, say a $5,000 ring, you can get that insured for $50 a year. So how many people, you buy a ring for $5,000, for $50 a year, you can protect that asset and make sure that, God forbid, something happens. At least you're going to be compensated for it, and you can get another diamond that's going to be similar to the one you had. So that's something I see a lot. And then on top of that, I think a lot of people are surprised that they don't buy the personal umbrella. I think, that's something that, you have your homeowner's policy and then you got your personal auto. Well, God forbid if something major ever happens and the limits on your underlying policies were exhausted. People are surprised that you can buy an additional $1 million of coverage on a personal umbrella.
Can you explain what a personal umbrella is?
Yeah, so what it is so you have a homeowner's policy, and a lot of times it's got $500,000 worth of liability. And then you have auto insurance. In the auto insurance, you might have $250,000 worth of liability protection for you if you were to get in an accident and somebody else was hurt because of your operation of the vehicle. Well, if you ever had a claim that's over that $500,000 limit for the home, or the $250,000 limit for the personal auto, after that you're self-insuring.
Right.
So you're self-insuring. Whatever you have potentially could be at stake. With the personal umbrella, for as much as like $175 or $150, you can buy an additional $1 million. So what I tell people all the time with the umbrella is, it's sleep insurance. Hopefully that $150 or $200 that you buy that additional $1 million for
Right.
is the biggest waste of money of your life. Honestly, knock on wood, hopefully it's, because that means you've never run into a situation where you're going to have over $1 million claim or a significant claim where somebody was hurt. But if somebody is, for $150 a year to obtain that additional $1 million worth of coverage, I think it's worth its weight in gold. I have one, a lot of my clients have them. So I do see a lot of people that come in, they're insure the home and everything's about the home, but they're not thinking about, the pool, the shed, the jewelry, what else they can do to protect themselves, God forbid, if they ever had a catastrophic claim.
Right.
So what we try to do, and a lot of agencies try to do this, is, come in, tell me a story. Let's get all the specs on the house. Let's figure out what you have going on besides just the purchase of that house. What else do you have going on in your life? Are you engaged? Are you going to be married? Are you putting in a swimming pool? Do you have other structures? Do you have a business out, that's inside the house? That could affect coverage. What do you have going on in your life? And then we take that story and then we apply it to the insurance products.
Right. So maybe for someone that's about to buy their first home, or maybe they're buying their next home, what do you recommend to look out for? Because obviously, considering what you're going to be paying for insurance on it is a factor into making that decision. Do you have any advice for those people?
Yeah, definitely. Because, obviously there's a lot of development in this area. And, if it's a new construction home, then it makes my job a lot easier and it makes the job of the homeowner a lot easier. That being said, I like older homes. I really do like older homes, and in this area, you have so many homes with so much character.
Right.
And it's just, that's what's great about New England, right?
Right.
But these older homes might not have the circuit breakers. They could have the knob and tube, which is a type of electrical. They could have fuses. The roof could be much older. And these are all red flags to the insurance companies. So I've had a lot of clients, they go buy a nice big old Victorian in Plainville or North Attleboro, and they've already bought it and they didn't even know it's filled with knob and tube, and something like that could triple the premium that you're paying. And if you misrepresented something on the application saying that it didn't have knob and tube or fuses, and you set it at breakers, well, at that point it's a material misrepresentation. If you ever did have a fire, you potentially might not have coverage. So I think old homes are great, and they have that character, and I realize why some people gravitate towards them. But at the same token, you want to do your due diligence and understand that there's certain things in those houses, whether it's electrical, plumbing, roofing, you should really talk to your agent before you put in an offer, so that you understand if the insurance company, the insurance is going to be reasonable, or if it's going to be much higher. And if it's going to be much higher, then what can you do to lower that premium in the terms of replacing some of these things? And a lot of times those are things that I'm friends with some realtors, you can negotiate that into the pricing. So, before I put in an offer, if it's got fuses or an old roof that could affect the insurance, you could potentially say, look, we want this much off the home, because I'm gonna have to replace that. If not, I'm gonna be paying, significantly more for the insurance.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm curious, let's say I'm about to buy a home.
Yes.
I make the decision I'm going to use R.S Gilmore to insure it. Walk me through the process, start to end, of what that looks like.
So what we have personal lines account managers there. So what we try to do is we like to meet you face to face. That's something that some people want to do everything via email and telephone. And we do have some clients like that, and we're okay doing business that way, but it's not the ideal way for us to do business. We'd like for you, Andreas, if you bought a house, you come down and you sit down with me face to face. I want to look you in the eye. I want to shake your hand. I like to know my clientele. Because one, I want you to trust me that if something goes wrong, you know who you're going to deal with. I don't want the first time you ever meet me face to face to be when you have a claim and you're all freaked out about what's going on. So whether it's me or one of my staff, would have you come into the agency, and then we have supplementals and applications that we try to get as much detail as we possibly can on that property that we're going to insure. And then from there, it's learning more about the exposure that you have in your life, what's your interest, what else you're involved in. Do you have four-wheelers? Do you like jet skiing? Do you own a boat? Do you have cars? Do you have a business? Try to paint the whole picture. And then from there, it's our job to take that information and go back to the insurance marketplace and make sure you're covered. And then from there, we put together the quotes after we meet with you, have you come back in one more time, run through it with you, answer any questions that you have, make sure you're 100% satisfied and you feel comfortable. And from there, we put the policy in place.
So one thing you mentioned, which interests me, is developing that trust, getting that face-to-face connection with your clients. I think some people may have an aversion to working with an insurance broker because they're afraid of being sold something.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
They would rather do it on their own because they want to just pick what they want. They don't want to have someone selling them.
Yeah, exactly.
What can you tell people about working with an insurance broker and developing that trust?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody ever wants to get sold, right? And that's not, we're an established agency. We're not just trying to go out there and sell product and push product that people don't need. I mean, the way I look at my business is I'm not looking at my businesses to make money today or tomorrow. I'm looking long term, and I want to build a brand and have people, know, like, and trust us.
Right.
So the idea of getting sold with me, I don't think is something that you'd run into or any of my people, but it's more education. So we want people to come in and we say, look, this is what we think. What do you think? We want you to be in agreement. So I never want anybody to come in the agency and feel like they were sold something. That's not the case. And I think we do a really good job of that. So when you come in, we advise you of the exposures, so this is what you got at risk. How do you want to cover it? And then once you tell us, if we disagree, we'll let you know and say, look, this is the reasons why we disagree. That being said, if you want to go to that direction, we're okay with doing that. We will buy that limit. But you should keep this in mind going forward, because, as you accrue more wealth and, life goes on, you should be really thinking about these things. And it's worked out. It's worked out great.
And it almost reminds me something that you just said of entrepreneur named Naval Ravikant.
Yep.
He talks about playing long-term games with long-term people.
Yes.
So cutting those corners and trying to get ahead in the short term is not really worth it for people that are genuinely interested in developing those relationships. I think anyone that met you would probably understand you're playing long-term games.
Yeah, it's a long-term game. I mean, in this community, the community is really, really important to me. And I'm friends with a lot of the other business owners. And I think one thing that you'll see with the most successful entrepreneurs is I want to develop relationships so that my staff thinks of me, or my clients think of me as one of their core members of their team. So for me, I look at my accountant, my accountant and CPA, my attorney, my financial planner. These are all people that I lean on and I trust wholeheartedly. And I hope that my business clients and personal clients feel the same way. So we're not really the agency that we're going to go in there and we're just trying to get somebody to switch because they can save $100, and then the next year they can save $100 with somebody else. Because when you play that game, you can always find somebody cheaper. You can always find somebody cheaper. That being said, can you always find that relationship that you've had for 10 or 20 years? Somebody that when this deck is stacked against you, you feel 100% confident dealing with, and you can trust them, and they know they're looking out for your long-term interests. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish long-term relationships. So going back to not wanting to be sold, I really haven't run into that with my clients because they trust me. When I tell them something, they know that I'm spending their dollars. They know that I wouldn't tell them anything otherwise that I wouldn't do.
Right.
And I think that's why we haven't really gotten a lot of pushback on that. It's just looking at each client, long term, and how we can add the most value over the next 10, 20, 30 years rather than selling a policy to make a quick commission check.
Right. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about a couple of your other ventures. I mentioned earlier Tasty's Bagels.
Yeah.
Also, it put a smile on my face when I came across this in doing research, but the Michel Golf Fund.
Yeah, we had that in common. We were talking about that with the Michel Golf Fund. So I hit on it a little bit before. I played golf growing up, and it was a great outlet for me. I played all the sports, but I really gravitated to golf, playing golf at Locust Valley, which was a municipal golf course, or actually not municipal golf course, public golf course rather, in Attleboro. And I did that, and right now we have the Michel Golf Foundation. So when I graduated college and started having some success in business, I really wanted to give back to kids that didn't have the means to play golf that might want to play. And I said, it's such a great game and it taught me so many valuable lessons. I said, geez, what can we do to make golf more affordable so that any child in this area can pick up the game, whether, who cares about their financial DNA and who their parents are and how much money or how little money they have. How can we make this game, accessible to everybody? So what I came up with was the Michel Golf Foundation, and what we do is I play golf for 24 straight hours. We're going on our 10th year. We'll raise close to $200,000 to donate money back to lessons, to group lessons, to tournaments, to clubs.
Right.
Really anything associated with golf. We created this foundation where I play golf for 24 consecutive hours. So last year I played 288 holes.
Wow.
And we did it in June and my left knee is still sore. So I guess I'm showing my age, but I'm really, really passionate about it. I love business, but very candidly, I don't know if there's much more I do that's more important than the Michel Golf Foundation, because I think it's something that helps kids and can affect lives. But we play golf for 24 hours, and then I have a lot of my clients and friends donate money based on how many holes I play. And then from there, a few of my friends in the Patriots, Devin McCourty, captain of the defense, who's been fantastic. He serves on the board of the Michel Golf Foundation. He comes to the event after I play the 24 hours to sign autographs for the kids and play golf and play catch. And it's kind of like a backyard barbecue feel with Devin and a few of the Patriots. And so it's a great experience for the kids to be able to meet the professional athletes, but at the same token for us to be able to raise enough money so that, if somebody did fall on hard times and they lost their job, or they have a single mother or father, we can step in, and no one would know. No one knows who the scholarship kids are. And our programs through the Mass Golf Association, which is in Norton. It used to be Wading River when we were
I
kids.
used to play there.
Yeah, I played in Wading River. And, really, we take care of everything. We take care of the, clubs, bag, balls, tournaments, lessons, and it's been a great thing. It's introduced a lot of kids to the game, and we hope it's just a start. We hope it's continuing. And in terms of Tasty Bagels, that's a fun investment.
Yeah.
It's when I went to Rutgers University down in Jersey, one of the first things I noticed was there was a deli or a bagel shop on every corner, and the bagels were just fantastic. And I thought that there was so much different than up here. So I felt like, I always said if I ever got a business going, maybe I'd get a side business in the bagel business and offer that to this clientele. So it's neat. We have it. It's right across the Lowe's and right off of Route 1. And it's doing great. It's a unique model in the fact that we got the frozen yogurt and the self-serving ice cream.
Yeah.
So there's that for the kids. And then we got the local coffee and we got the New York bagels. We have the bagels come in, from Brooklyn. And, people love the product, and it's a fun business.
Yeah.
It's something that keeps us involved with the community. The community has, it's really, supported it, which is awesome.
It's true. I hear about it from everyone.
Yeah. It's the talk of the town. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So, we'd like to grow that brand as well, but I thought there was a market for it just because you don't see a lot of bagel shops up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You go down to Jersey, they're on every corner. So I just identified a need, and based on, people frequent in Tasties, there obviously was. So it's good.
That's awesome.
A lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, that's for sure. You wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
How can people either follow Tasties on social media or contribute maybe to the Golf Foundation?
Yeah, so the Golf Foundation, we have a website. It's through, a link through the Facebook page. So if you looked up Michel Golf Foundation, you would see everything we got going on. You can donate through that website. Same thing with Tasties and the insurance agency. So it's interesting. We're doing this for the, Facebook and Instagram and things like that. It is, everything's through that portal now.
Yeah.
So if you want to find me for the insurance, it's Facebook, Instagram, or my business email, and then Tasties, and the same thing with the Michel Golf Fund. So if you're interested in any of those, obviously, if somebody wants to support the Michel Golf Fund, I thank you beforehand, because it means so much to me, and it's a game that changed my life, and I think there's an opportunity for it to change other people's lives. In terms of if you want to check out Tasties, go check it out. We got the New York Bagels. It's right in Plainville. You can check it out on Facebook or Instagram. We got the post pretty consistently. My wife does a great job handling that, and then with the agency, we're there as well. So we try to have a presence on the internet, and if anything else, you can always call you, and somebody will you can give them my cell phone. Easiest way.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure having the conversation.
Yeah, no problem. I wish you guys luck. You guys are doing great things over here.
Thank you.
Really proud of you. Really proud of you.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Staple Landscapes. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time.